Hey and welcome back to another Darkfall tutorial. So since it's October and Halloween is at the end of the month, I thought I'd do some spooky or Halloween themed tutorials. So the first one is going to be how to create a Halloween themed watermark, as you can see in the bottom left here. So you can have yours animated with lights or you can have it as a still image, it's entirely up to you. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you're in Cycles Render. We don't need to worry about the resolution right now, but I'll do that a little bit later on before we render it. But what you can do is delete the default cube and the lamp, we don't need them. Let's go ahead and align the camera. So I'm going to press number pad 1 just to go to front view. Then if I press Ctrl, Alt and number pad 0, this will align the camera to the front view. But if we move around, we can see that the camera is quite far away. It's all the way over here. So let's just drag this in, make this a little bit closer. And then just bring this down. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in a UV sphere, Shift A. Go to Mesh, UV Sphere. I'm just going to scale this up, something like this. Since we've scaled this up, we can apply the scale. Press Ctrl A, apply scale. Now we don't really need to worry about the scale in this this example, but if we wanted to use this model in future projects, then you would need to make sure you apply the scale. And so now we scaled this up, press Tab to go into edit mode, and we want to create a seam. So when we unwrap this, it'll unwrap better. So let's change this from vertex select mode to edge select mode. Then I want to select this back edge here. So if you just right click. Now instead of right clicking and holding shift and then selecting all these, what we can do, if we hold alt and then right click, we can select this line here. So now we have this selected, we can press Ctrl and E, and this will bring up the edge menu or the edges menu. If you don't remember these shortcuts, you can always go down here to Mesh, and we have them all here, and it tells you the shortcut as well. So you go to Edges, and brings up the menu. Now we want to choose Mark Seam, and we can see it's added a red line just to indicate this is where the seam is. Now we have this, let's jump to the front view. I'm going to press number pad 5 just so I go into orthographic. So now let's split this window and change this to a UV image editor. And then if I go back over here, press A to select all of them. Then if I press U, it brings up the UV mapping menu. So let's choose sphere projection, and it does this. I mean, there's loads of different ways how to correctly unwrap a UV sphere, and this is not one of them. So, but we're just unwrapping this to fit a purpose, saying that this will work for us, and we don't need to put in extra work just for this small, tiny little watermark. So it's barely going to be noticeable anyway. So now let's move on to creating the face. I'm just going to move the 2D cursor so it's in front of the sphere. Now Shift A. So now I've added a plane. I'm just going to press R to rotate, then X, 90, enter. Then I'm going to jump to front view by pressing numpad 1. So I'm just going to select the camera and then press H to hide it. And then let's select the plane. And I also want to give this a mirror modifier. So go over to modifiers. Mirror. So we don't actually see anything, so let's tap into edit mode, and it's already selected. So we press G on either side of this origin point, you'll be able to see the mirror. Now let's just drag this so it's kind of centered here. These are going to be the eyes, by the way. I'm just going to select this vertex select mode, select one of these, and then I'm going to press Ctrl I just to invert the selection so only these 3 are selected. Press X to delete them and choose vertices. So the only thing that's left now is this one vertex here, right here. So I'm going to press G to grab it, move over here. Then if I press E to extrude it, I do that again. Keep pressing E to extrude until you get something like this. Press A. And then I'm going to press F. Now one thing you probably will notice straight away is the colour of this face compared to these faces. It's unnaturally dark. And if we rotate around, we can see this has the correct shading and this doesn't. With this selected, if we press spacebar and then type flip, and we just want to choose flip normals, and there we go, it's fixed. So if you ever see that darker colour, that means it's the inside of the face, you actually want to see the outside. Now let's go ahead and refine this and make it look better because that looks terrible. So again, Shift A, add in a plane, rotate it, so I'll press R to rotate. Press X, then 90. Let's just grab this. So we want this to be joined, and the way we do that, if we select clipping, Now anytime they intersect like this, if we let go, now we try and pull it apart, it won't. Now it's stuck together. You undo that by unchecking clipping, and then you'd be able to pull them apart, but for now I actually want them to be stuck together like this. So let's model the mouth. I'm going to press S and then Z. Scale it on the X. I'm going to choose edge select mode. Select this edge here. Press E to extrude. Something like this. And press S to scale. Z. And then just drag this up. So now I need to add some loop cuts. So to add a loop cut, you press Ctrl R. As soon as you do that, you see this this pink line, and this will indicate where you're going to add the loop cuts to. So I'm going to add one here, and then I'm going to add another one here. Ctrl R. Now I'm going to try and match the thickness of this original one here. Remember, this is mirrored, so this is around this thick. Imagine the line's going to end here, so it's going to be this thick. We kind of want to match the thickness. I mean, it's okay, we're not too perfect. One, for you might want variation, and two, we can always come back and fix it if we need to. Anyway, so let's add another one about here, another one here, maybe one last one over here, like this. Now we have this, let's go ahead and extrude them. So if you want to select this edge here, hold shift, select this edge. So this is going to be a couple of functions together. We're going to first press E to extrude it, then we're going to press S to scale it, and then we're going to press Z just to constrain it on the Z axis, and then we can left click and just confirm that selection. And again, we can always come back and change this, but we're going to do the same thing for all these others. But you might notice that it's kind of bent or out of shape, it's not straight. We will come back and change this. I mean, you'll notice it more over here, but let's go ahead and extrude these. So select this one, shift, select this, E to extrude, S to scale, Z to constrain it on the Z axis, and then we just move the mouse and just give this about here. And it's the same process, just repeating. And again, we'll fix these edges a little later on. Select this, shift, select this edge, E to extrude it. So we're not clicking anything, we're just pressing E, then we're going to press S, and then we're going to press Z. And just scale it to what you want it to be. E, S, Z. Now this one's really crazy. So now we go back to this one here. And what we want to do for this, we want to press S to scale it. We want to constrain it on the Z axis, so press Z. And then press 0. So now see how straight they are? Now instead of going through these individually and just, S, Z, 0, what we can do, if we select all of them, we can actually do it all at once. So let's just select all these edges that we want to straighten. If you try and do it now, it won't work. Look, and I'll show you what I mean. If we press S, Z, 0, you see what it's taking the median of all of them, and that's because of this option right here. So let's just press Ctrl Z just to undo that. We still got these selected, but we want to change this here from median. We want to choose individual origins. So now it'll take individual origins of these and just use that instead. So now if we press S, Z, 0, each one of them are straight. We don't have to do it over and over again. So that's just saved us quite a bit of time. So now we have this. It doesn't look too good, but let's go ahead and add in a Subsurf Modifier. So just close this. Subdivision surface. This makes it look a little bit better. Let's go ahead and bump this up. So maybe 3. The mouth looks terrible. Kind of looks like an old granddad pumpkin, and that's not what we want. So tap back into it. So what we can do is just, if we press Ctrl R, and then you can drag this in all the way, but I want to give this a bit more of a bend. Looks okay. Do the same thing for all of these. So try and get the same sort of thickness all the way around, but or if you want some variation, go ahead and do that. So now we can go ahead and add some more loop cuts to these top ones. Control R. If you like this rounded off look, go ahead and leave it. Or if you want it more blocky kind of shape, that's entirely up to you. I'm going to split the difference and go around here. Now one thing you should notice, I mean right here it's not really noticeable, but as we go on you'll notice it even more. When we add a loop cut, Control R, we can see that the line's not actually straight, it's at an angle, it's matching this line here. If you can see, it's parallel to this line. And the closer we get to it, the more parallel it looks. The more, as we go away from it, it tries to match this line, so it goes from this angle to this angle, and it's still not straight. And the problem with that, if you can see this line here, if we zoom in a bit more, this line is closer to this vertex. I'm just going to straighten these up by pressing S, then press Z, then press 0, and now we've just straightened these up. And so now both these sides are exactly the same. And again, I'll just show you the difference. Control R. See, this is a bit tighter, this is a bit bigger. I mean, it's not really noticeable here, but as we move on, you'll probably notice it more. So, but for example, this one here, let's have a look. So we can see that this curve's a lot smaller than this one. So these sort of details you might not be worried about. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad. We do need to add some nostrils, so go ahead and select this face. Shift D to duplicate it. And then let's scale it way down. And then let's grab it, rotate. Okay, so that's not too bad, but it's a 2D object, and we want to make this 3D, so let's go ahead and do that. Tab back into edit mode, press A to deselect them, and then press A to select all of them. Now if we press E to extrude, and depending on which way we pull it, if you notice the shadow, as we mentioned before, this is the inside, so it looks darker. So let's pull it forward, and we can see that it has the same shading as this one. Now we have this. I'm going to drag this out quite a bit, so we need to create a couple more loop cuts. And let's start with the eye. I'm going to press Control R. Now instead of just adding one loop cut, I'm going to scroll up the middle mouse wheel, and this will add the second loop cut. Then if I left click, just to confirm that I'm going to use 2, now I can select the position. I'm going to left click again. Now I'm just going to press S and then Y just to scale these 2 lines. That looks good. Let's do the same for the nostril. Control R, scroll the middle mouse wheel, left click, S, Y. Same thing for the mouth. Control R, scroll up, left click. Now we have this. I want to delete the front faces and the back faces. And the best way to do that, if we jump to the top view by pressing number pad 7, then I'm going to go to wireframe view, so press Z. So I want to select these middle faces, so let's change this to face select mode. Press B. Just make sure we have all of these selected, all the middle section. Yep, that looks good. So now what we can do, we want to keep this part, so let's press Control and I to invert the selection. Or you could go down to select and then just choose inverse. It's entirely up to you. Now if we hit X and we want to delete the faces, we have this cookie cutter kind of shape. That's what you want to call it. And that's done. That's all we need. This is going to be for the Boolean. So now we can go back to the sphere. So select this, and I want to give this a couple of modifiers as well. We actually want to give it 3 modifiers. The first one is going to be a subdivision surface to give this more faces. Just going to increase this to 2 for now. The next one is going to be a Solidify Modifier. This will actually give it some thickness. If we just jump to the side view, then press Z, we can see, just turn this off, it's a hollow sphere. And we want to give this the illusion that it's got some thickness. So we add a Solidify Modifier, and then just play around with this thickness value here. All of these values will be scene dependent. If you want to change something, go ahead and do that. The final modifier I'm going to use for this is going to be a Boolean. Now if you've never used a Boolean modifier, I mean they are amazing. It's probably one of my favorite modifiers to use. There are a lot of cool modifiers, but Boolean is one of the best. But for now, we'll just leave this as it is. We don't need to change that. Let's just go back to solid view. Let's kind of make this sphere look a little more like a pumpkin. So tab into edit mode, And then let's choose vertex select. I'm just going to press A to deselect all of these. And then I'm going to select this top one here. I'm going to move this down, but what we need to do is enable proportional editing, which is down here, proportional editing. And you can press O just to enable the shortcut. Now when we bring this up and down, so now what this will do is if we increase the middle mouse wheel or decrease it, it will select the faces or the vertices around it, so it'll kind of have a better fall off, kind of depending on what shape you want to make. But let's go ahead and drop this down. Let's just drop this down a bit like this. Select this one. And then let's select this one. Select this one again. And then decrease the fall off. Something like that. Now let's change this back to the edge select mode. And I want to select some of these edges and just scale them out so it looks more like a pumpkin shape. Again, all pumpkins look different. There's literally hundreds of different types, maybe not hundreds, but there's lots of different types of pumpkins. So if you want to use a reference image, that's definitely something useful. But for this one, I'm just going to do something very basic. I'm going to hold Alt and right click these lines here. So I want to select multiple edges, and the way I can do that, if I hold Shift and Alt at the same time, I can just add to this selection. So you kind of want to be careful which edges you select, because it might not look good with your with the face. So it might be a little bit trial and error. I mean, I kind of want this. So I want to select this. So I hold Alt, right click, Alt, Shift. So go around and select all the edges that you want to bring out. So I don't need to really worry about the back here because I'm never going to see the back for this example, but if you wanted to use this in other projects, and you probably want to take more time and make it look better. But remember, proportional editing is still on, so if we press S to scale it, and if we increase the middle mouse wheel or decrease it, depending on how you want it to look, I think that looks pretty good. So now we can go over to the Boolean. So now we're going to select the object that we want to use. We can use this tool here if we select this icon and then select which object we want to use. Or you can just click here and just select the plane. Let's change this operation to difference. Like this. Bring this back. One thing we need to do is make sure this is long enough. Like right now it's not big enough, so press S to scale it. Then press Y. Just scale this right out. And then if we bring it in, we can see the inside, and you want to make sure that you can see the inside. Now in some examples, some of these holes might be filled in, and if that's the case, I mean, these are all perfect right now. If some of them don't work, or you don't see it all the way through the sphere, you might need to scale or make it bigger, or just move it around. Press G. Now before we apply this, we want to make sure this is smooth as possible, so press T. Then let's go down here. Under shading, we want to select smooth shading. See, it's just so it doesn't have any banding issues when we apply the Boolean. Select the pumpkin again. Let's give this a material. And now for this, I'm not going to go too crazy with it since it's only going to be a very small image. It's not going to need too much detail, but I'm going to go pretty quick with this. I'm going to add a principal shader. For this base color here, I'm going to select this icon and choose image texture. Go ahead and open up an image texture. Now this image texture, I'm not sure where I picked this up. I don't think it was from CG Textures, so if I can't find a link, I'll link to some other different types of textures as well. So this is the image that I'm going to use, and if we go to preview as well to see how it looks, and let's split this, change this to node editor, and then what I'm going to do. So using this image, I created a normal. I did a tutorial on that. If you guys don't know how to do that, I'll throw a link up here. You can go and check that out. But let's go ahead and add in a vector normal map. Drop this in. Drop the strength to 0.6 maybe. Maybe less, we'll see. See how it looks. But let's just added some normal to it. So I don't actually have a roughness map for this. I'm going to kind of cheat plug this in here, Shift A, converter, RGB to black and white, kind of does what I need it, and then add a color ramp, converter, color ramp, and then play around with this until you get something that fits. Again, I'm going to come back and play with these values after I've rendered it a few times, see how it looks, but for now I'm going to leave it at that. So now we have this, and this is going to be for the outside. So if we just have a look, material, we can see this is the outside. It doesn't look too good here. We also need to do the inside, and what we can do, let's go ahead and create a whole new material. So up here, just bring this out so you can see. So I apologize if things are a bit messy. Let's go ahead and create a new one. Create new. In fact, let's change this to material, the first one, like this. And then if we click this number 2, just made this a whole new material. So let's rename this inside, outside. So what we can do is pretty much delete everything. So press B, select these. If I hold Control and then X, we just delete that. So let's hold Control, left click, disconnect this. And let's just change this. Now we have this second material. Go ahead and go back to the modifiers. If we select this solidifier here, we have a couple of options we can use. You see here where it says material. So right now it's using 0, which if we go over here if we go back, we can see 0 would be this one here. So number 1 would be the second one. So let's go back, select number 1. And as soon as we do that, you can see the inside now has that inside material. So it saves us a lot of work. Let's go ahead and apply these modifiers now. So when you apply the modifiers, you want to apply them in order. You want to apply it from top to bottom. So let's do that now. Apply the Subsurf, apply the Solidify Modifier, and apply the Boolean. So now we can select this, just move it out of the way to a different layer. We have this. It looks pretty good. I mean, you might notice some shading issues here. So we press T. Let's go up here. Make sure we select the pumpkin. And then we want a smooth shade. Now, as soon as we do that, we get all these sort of artifacts or this horrible looking shading. And we can fix that if we go over to modifiers and give this an edge split. Let's go ahead and create a little top bit here. I mean, this is not a big deal. I'm just going to quickly drop this in. Kind of model. This is going to be the stalk or the stem. And I'm sure there's hundreds of different ways how to do this. But I'm just going to do something like this. Give this a subsurf. And then let's Control R. Something like this. I mean, again, it's going to be so small, it's not really, it's just extra detail that probably will never be seen. So it's entirely up to you if you want to go into quite a bit of detail. But I think that looks okay. Let's bring this camera, Alt-H to unhide the camera. I'm just going to bring this back a bit, it's far too close. Looks pretty good. If we want, we can change the perspective as well, the focal length, so we can get closer without the face looking fish-eyed or deformed. But I think that looks okay. I want to add a light to the inside, so Shift A, go down to lamp, and for this one I'm going to use a point lamp. Just bring this down a bit. I'm going to kind of put it down here like this. And if you want, let's give this an orange color, or give this an orange tint. And then let's give this a render. See how it looks. So we can see we've got the glowing light showing, which is pretty good. That's coming along. Obviously we need better lighting, so go to World Properties, check Use Nodes, select this little box here, and then choose Environment Texture, and go ahead and open up HDRI. If you don't have any HDR images, link to Texture Haven where they've got loads of free HDR images. But for this one, I'm actually going to use something kind of like this overcast sky. Looks okay. And then I want to go back to the render, go all the way down to film, and check transparent. I also want to Shift A, go to lamp, add in a sun lamp, and then I'm going to position this something like that. Remember, it's going to be a small image, it's going to be like a little small watermark, so going too crazy on the detail will be wasted, you're not really going to see it, but obviously you want to make it look as good as you can. Now for the animation for the lamp, let's go ahead and select the point lamp again that we had, this one in the middle here, and for this I want to make it flicker, so let's split this window. I'm going to change this to a graph editor, and then for this, if we go down to strength here, if we just press I to add a keyframe, now we can see we have this. If we scroll out, we'll be able to find it. There it is. So it's quite far away from the original line, but this is it here. This indicates that the power or the strength is at a constant value of 100. Kind of want to play around with this and make it jump, and we've done this a few times in previous tutorials, so if you already know how to do that, then go ahead and do that. We press N, this brings up this side menu here, and then what we're going to do is change this from F curve to modifiers, and then we can select the modifiers, go down to noise, and straight away you can see it's changed it, but we need to scroll in to kind of see what it does. It's this sort of jagged motion, so it was a constant value of 1, but as we play through this, we can see that the value flickers. Now that's not enough, that's really a small amount, and if you want you can actually go back to render, and by the way I'm just going to drop this down and also drop it down even more to 50%. Give this a quick render. Now if we jump one frame, go back to this lamp here, if we jump one frame we see it goes down to, if we re-render this, I'm going to change this to slot 2, press F12, and we probably won't even notice the difference. So this is the first one, the second. You can't tell the difference. I mean, there is no difference between them two, even though the strength has changed. So what we need to do is increase this jagged line to make it a lot stronger. So just change this back to slot 1. Then over here we have the scale and strength. Scale we can leave for now, that's just going to determine how fast it flickers between the values. We want to change the strength, though, how strong these values are going to be. So if we just drag this out, and I think we're going to need quite a lot. So now if we jump back to the first frame, this is at 100, well 100 and some change, but we jump to the next frame, now it's 95. So again, let's render this. So again, number 1 is 100, which it was kind of before. Change this to slot 2. Then if we jump to a frame like 95, like this, let's re-render this and see if we can see the difference. Now with these, it's always trial and error. 1 for the speed, the second for the strength. It's, you know, trying to find the right combination. But this is the first one, this is the second. Still no difference. Oh, there's a tiny amount of difference. If we zoom right in, you see the difference here? That's it. So again, we need to bump this way up. So now we can see the strength to 86. So this is a lot brighter. So the first one was brighter at 100. And now if we render this at 86, it should be a lot darker. Let's give this a re-render. Yeah, we can see it's a lot darker. So this is the first one, second. So it's going to be flickering like this, and depending on the values, it can be more or less. So you might want to play around with it. Or you could even render this out using a small resolution just to see how fast they flicker and how bright it is. Do you think that looks good? So we can use that. So once you're happy with the model and the texture and the light, I'm going to create maybe 1 or 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Let's just change this to 50. And then, so I'm going to render it out for like 2 seconds so it doesn't take too long, and then I'm going to bring it back into Blender and just loop it. So now I need to go to the node editor, change this to the scene tab, use nodes, backdrop, add in a viewer node. So add in a viewer node, and what I did was hold Control, Shift and left click, and that's because I've got the Node Wrangler add-on enabled. I did a tutorial on that. If you guys want to check it out, go ahead and check it out. Now I obviously want to play around with this, make it look better, but also I kind of want to add in, if we go to color mix, I want to add in some text. You might want to color correct, add some color grading, add some text, and then you can go ahead and render it out. Now for the render settings, you want to go to your output, and you want to make sure you remember where you saved this to. So go to the folder where you want to save this to, and then create a new folder within it, and this is going to be your PNGs. This is going to be a PNG image sequence since we're using the transparency. So click inside it. Once we're inside it, we can accept. And then down here, make sure you use PNG. And also make sure RGBA is selected, otherwise it won't render the alpha. And once you have that, you can go ahead and hit animation. So now go ahead and open up a new scene in Blender. So File, go to New. And then what we're going to do is use the video sequence editor. So you can either go to video editing, or if you've created your own, go ahead and choose VSC. Then we can go ahead and Shift A. So I want to go ahead and add in our movie clip. So this would be for any videos that you want to add the watermark to. So once you've added in the movie clip, you can go ahead and add in the watermark. Shift A, go to Image. And then if we press A, we can select them all. Add image. So there's a couple of things we need to do. Press N to bring up the sidebar. First we need to change this blend type from cross to alpha over. If it's too big like this, you can always scale it down. So Shift A, Effect Strip, Transform. If we click Uniform Scale, we can scale this down. So we can just move this on the position here, move it down. Again, I really want to scale this down quite a bit. And again, we need to change this blend mode on this this transform. For some reason, I don't know why it doesn't just use the same settings as this, but we just need to click the transform, choose blend, choose the blend mode, and change this to alpha over again. So now we have this. And again, just if you need to scale it up or down, you can do that. Pretty simple. Just move this over. So now we've got this. I can either duplicate this and have it for the length of the movie clip. This is like 10 minutes long, I think. Maybe I'm just going to make it appear at the start and then fade out, and then at the end just do the same thing and make it appear and fade out. So once we're happy with this, I'm going to go to my output, select where I want this to save to, and then let's change the file type from PNG to FFmpeg video. Select encoding, and then if we select this presets here, we can choose any one of these presets, and I'm going to use H.264 in MP4 format. Since we've got audio in it as well, we need to make sure we render out the audio. So all the way down here under audio codec, I'm going to choose MP3, and you can go ahead and hit animation, which is this icon here, and it will animate through. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. There's going to be some more Halloween themed videos coming this way, so hopefully you guys will enjoy them too. If you do, be sure to give this a like. As always, thank you for watching, and see you next time.